From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Welcome to tonight's show, including those listening on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where the Gavinator will soon have a plethora of features for you. So far, though, you can read up on Captain Church, SOR, Newswire, listen to the show live. Tonight's show is brought to you by Mighty Moose Beard Oil Company. It's 100% Canadian, 100% natural, taking care of beards around the world. Visit MightyMooseBeard.com. Don't forget to use promo code SOR2019 today. Rob Shelsky is an avid and eclectic writer of both fiction and nonfiction. His nonfiction books are some of the most popular in the field of ufology, time travel, and ET contact. Rob has researched the UFO phenomenon all over the United States, including Brown Mountain, North Carolina, known for the infamous Brown Mountain Lights. With over 20 years of such research and investigative efforts behind him, as well as currently being a field investigator for MUFON, Rob asks the hard questions others seem to avoid. Often he comes up with convincing answers, especially to the topics we don't or cannot quite comprehend. Then, at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine, Mr. Rob Shelsky. Thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. You come highly recommended by a couple of good friends, including Everett Thiemer, Junior Gergatis, and I had to have you on, man. They said, you got to get Rob on, so we had to do this.
Well, my thanks to them, and my thanks to you for having me on. I really appreciate being on the show.
Not a problem. We love having you here as well. Tell us how you got involved in the strange and weird. What piqued your interest?
Maybe that I'm strange and weird. I don't know. No, actually, it's been a long-term, slow evolution. I was interested in UFOs when I was just a little kid. Later in life, my brother had some missing time experience, which I found out only long after it happened. And slowly I began to develop an interest in UFOs, the paranormal in general. And I've always had a burning interest in time travel and that sort of thing. And more recently, the Mandela effect. So again, it's been a long, arduous sort of road, and I was also a MUFON field investigator, which got me even more involved in all of this because the data just kept pouring in that UFOs, for instance, are real. And then I started wanting some explanations as to what they were, where they were from, that sort of thing.
Did you ever have any experiences on your own?
I've seen 2 UFOs in my life. One was in San Diego, and about 50,000 people saw that one as well because it went over the San Diego Stadium at the time, and it was in the newspapers the next day. And I also saw one more recently a couple of years ago here near where I live in Greensboro, North Carolina, in broad daylight. And that's it. And I can't tell you what they were. I can tell you what they were not, but I can't tell you what they were. And again, I had that experience of my brother telling me about his experience that he had when he was 16. And it just led from there. I slowly got more and more into it. Went to Area 51. Well, not into Area 51, near it, until they scared me away. That sort of thing. But like I said, it's an ongoing investigatory sort of thing.
When you started looking into this a little bit more seriously, were you surprised that there was so much of the phenomena around if people just did a little bit of digging?
Oh, yes. For instance, with regard to UFOs, I was amazed to find out just how much there was in the way of sightings. And then when I became a MUFON field investigator, every time you mentioned that in a group, a party, a get-together, anytime with people, there was always someone, at least one, usually more, that had a personal experience that they had not reported. It's far more widespread than we realize. And that stunned me because I always thought of it as one of those things only a few people saw or interacted with. But the truth of the matter is, it's far from that.
What do you think that truth is?
I think, there's no doubt in my mind personally that UFOs really exist. Certain astronauts have said the same thing. Members of different governments, England, France, the United States, have said the same thing, Canada. So they exist. They absolutely exist. And I always wanted to kick the tires as one to see if they were really real, if you know what I mean. I haven't had a chance to do that, probably because they don't have tires. But again, the evidence is in, and it's convincing. And the problem is, UFOs are real. What does it mean for us as a people, as a civilization, as humanity? Are they a threat? Are they space brothers? That's what I've been trying to figure out ever since.
Do you think you're any closer to getting to that solution?
Yes, and I don't like the solution I'm getting close to. And believe me, I had no agenda as to whether they were bad or good for us, but as more and more evidence came in, I began to realize that the number of injuries, property damage, and deaths due to UFOs in the military and in the general public are such that I don't find them a particularly good thing for the human race. In fact, I fear them, and I think most people should.
Oh, let's have this debate. Let's get into this. Because I'm an ET experiencer who's had the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I don't think that the ETs are that bad at all. I think they're, much like humans. We have a majority who are a good bunch, and then there's the very few, the small percentage that aren't very, very friendly on that. So why do you think that it is such a negative persona that aliens have?
Well, I based it on the evidence. I based it on all the evidence that's been accruing for decades and decades now. Again, we have all sorts of property damage due to UFOs. We have, thousands of injuries due to UFOs. We have deaths in the military directly due to UFOs. We have civilian deaths, and a lot more than you might realize, due to UFOs. We have people abducted. Over 1 million is the current figure for the United States alone right now, and this is against people's will. They are abducted. They are taken on board ships, according to them. They are subjected to horrible, invasive procedures that leave them basically with post-traumatic stress disorder, and which they don't like to deal with or face, and also that just because the aliens make them forget it happened, it doesn't mean it didn't happen. If you were kidnapped by someone and tortured, and then they gave you a drug that made you forget the incident, doesn't mean it didn't happen, doesn't mean it was a violation of your human rights. And then, of course, we have the permanently disappeared. Tens of thousands of people a year in our country alone, and I mean permanently disappeared and not accounted for through the normal means of kidnappings, just wanting to start a new life, running away, one parent abducting the children from another parent. Take all that aside, we still come up with a round figure of around 50,000 a year who disappear permanently, and none of those explanations satisfy. So that's a lot. Then multiply that times other countries like Australia, some 3,000 people. So many people have disappeared in Alaska over the last few decades that they're referring to it as the Alaska Triangle, and it comes to almost 7% of the total population of Alaska. I'm sorry, I just don't find that something that our space brothers, if you want to call them that, would do if they were being benevolent to us or kind. Again, I don't want it to be that way, but when you keep seeing this evidence and very little to the contrary, what can you do? Yes, there are a few cases where people who were abducted, remember they were kidnapped first against their will, who have been healed, like if they had cancer. But if you're an ongoing experiment, maybe they just didn't want that experiment to die in the middle of the experiment, so they took care of that. But when's the last time you heard of a UFO beaming a light into the forest so some lost children could find their way out, or beaming people out of a burning house? Anything good like that. And yet, I can give you thousands of cases, literally, where people have been hurt, harmed, and damaged by UFOs.
Well, I think that the free experiencer statistics would have an argument against that, considering that they had almost 4,400 people take a test on what they are doing, and that test basically said that about 84% of all contact was positive.
Yeah, but you have to consider the source, number one, and number two, you have to consider the fact that for over those 1 million people who were abducted, none of them voluntarily agreed to the abduction, which is a violation of human rights. Then, of course, you have cattle mutilations and all that sort of thing as well, animal mutilations by the hundreds, even by the thousands, some say. So the evidence is in that they cause this sort of thing, and therefore, even though we are moving towards a more spiritual approach to the UFOs, and I'd like it to be that. Trust me, more than anyone, I've spent my whole life hoping that aliens were the answer, that they would bring us to our senses, that they'd be like Santa Claus and come and save us from ourselves. Unfortunately, the evidence I've been gathering for some 3 decades now seems to belie that fact. I wish it didn't, but it does.
Well, I can understand that, but we also don't understand what the rules are in play here. We don't know if they are in contact with the government. We don't know if a deal was cut a la the Eisenhower-Greada Treaty. We don't know. We don't know if they have permission to take us. We don't know anything along those lines. We can only assume, and the natural assumption of people is fear right off the bat, that it has to be something evil, something malevolent, something that we'd only wish happened to our ex-mother-in-laws.
Well, there is that, so there probably is a positive to the whole UFO approach. Gosh knows, I had some dealings with mother-in-laws myself. Actually, I'm kidding. But I'm sorry, but that doesn't cut it. Just because the government says it's okay to abduct you doesn't make it okay that you're being abducted. If the government said it's okay for some criminals to kidnap you and torture you, how would you feel while you're being tortured about that? Oh, our government did. I guess it's okay. No, I'm sorry. I don't buy that. And I don't think any rational human being can say just because the government allows it makes it okay. The government does all sorts of things that aren't okay. And also there seems to be a deep government involved here. Senator Inouye, now deceased, said that there was a secret government within our government, and it even had its own military force, its own, of course, he was talking about was they had access and control over the United States military to a certain degree and could use it to their personal advantage for whatever they chose to use it for. We have a lot of people in positions of power that have been saying this. So again, I wish aliens were our space brothers, but you can talk to the dead people in the Dyatlov Pass about that. You can talk to Felix Munkla, who disappeared in his jet along with his co-pilot or navigator over the Great Lakes, who disappeared as well. You can talk to Valentich, the young guy that disappeared in Australia in his plane when he was buzzed by UFOs and suddenly ceased to broadcast. You can talk to a lot of people about it and ask them what they think about it. Oh, but we can't because they're gone forever.
Well, the fact is, though, there's a lot of situations, but there's also situations, too, whether it's Stan Mikulik up here in Canada, whether it's other people, Betty and Barney Hill, whether it's Travis Walton, who really changed his mind on what happened to him. So I think it goes either way. I mean, I agree with you on the fact that, it is kind of bogus that they take you from your bed or your home, or you got this missing time or whatever it may be. And I do agree that it is kind of bogus. But on the flip side,
bogus. It is more than bogus. I mean, if you're one of the people that this is happening to against your will, and the fact that so many suffer post-traumatic stress disorder from this tells me that it's more than bogus. It affects them for the rest of their lives. I know an astronomer in Upper New York State who was abducted as a child several times, and he would have what I'd basically call the Stockholm Syndrome. He was abducted against as well. He was subjected to all sorts of things as a child and very young adult, and then it stopped. And I got the impression he was upset about it having stopped. I said, "You sound like you're upset about this not continuing." He said, "I am." I said, "Why? Is it because you felt special that they were picking you out?" And he said, "Yeah, that's exactly it, Rob. I thought I was kind of unique and special because they were interested in me and not other people." But that's the Stockholm Syndrome talking, where you begin to identify with your captors, your kidnappers. And you have to consider that, too. And like you said with Travis Walton, he changed his story quite a bit. Well, people do. Often, when we have a horrible experience, we try to put it in context. We try to deal with it. We try to find some meaning for it. We don't and can't think that it's just a random, horrible act that was committed to us. But if you have these creatures who are taking you against your will, subjecting you to this, killing people, and I don't think some of it's by accident by any means, not when you talk about certain cases. People are hurt with radiation poisoning and disease, people whose lives are disrupted, people who die horrible deaths from it. That tells me that either the extraterrestrials are either amoral, that they just don't have a system of morals as we would know it, or they're immoral, or they have their own agenda and morals simply don't enter into it. You just don't kidnap people against their will and subject them to this. Why not ask them if they want to participate in the experiments? Why not give them that option or choice? If they're so advanced, if they're so intelligent, why not do that?
Maybe they have. There's a lot of abductees and contactees who literally will say that, you know, I knew this was coming. I knew this was going to happen. I welcomed it.
Right, and there are people from the 50s on who are contactees, and a lot of them said they were taken up on the ships, and they were taken to the planet Venus, and they were taken to Saturn, and landed there, and as we know full well, that's just impossible, and their descriptions of those worlds are completely wrong. I'm not saying they were lying, but they could have been delusional, or there could have been other things involved, and I'm not saying all contactees are. I'm simply going by the numbers. When you have thousands of people, over 1 million who are abducted, when you have UFOs buzzing airplanes and creating danger to commercial flights and military, when you have them doing stuff around our military bases, when you have people being subjected to radiation, when you have people being killed, when you have people being injured, when you have property damage on this scale and over this duration of time, again, I'm sorry, but the evidence, the preponderance, the vast preponderance of evidence is not that there are space brothers. That's not to say all extraterrestrials may be evil. I'm not saying even these are evil. If they're amoral, they're not evil. They're just have no sense of morals whatsoever, or right or wrong by our standards, human rights. But even the ones that are so supposedly benign, and I've had people argue and say, well, they have a non-interference thing. I said, well, you know, that doesn't do us a lot of good, because if we're the ones who are being subjected to this and they won't interfere to stop it, then it isn't non-interference. They're just standing idly by, not acting like a good Samaritan at all, while they're watching us being taken all the time and being subjected to this all the time throughout history, apparently. And other people said, well, maybe they're so advanced they see us like ants, and so you can't blame them for that. I said, in that case, then it's up to the ants to take care of themselves if the extraterrestrials won't. That's all we can do. I mean, if you have a child that's outside playing at night and suddenly disappears and has missing time, or if you're with that child and then later on you have a post-traumatic stress disorder and under hypnosis you remember what happened to you and your child, you're not going to be real happy to know what happened to your child, let alone yourself.
A lot of people would say that's a paranoid attitude to take.
It's not paranoid if you go by the numbers. I mean, I didn't start out, and I don't think I'm paranoid about it. But if you're in a killing field, it's sooner or later you have to become aware of it. And I think we're in a killing field. And I don't know why, and I don't know what the reason is. But again, if I'm one of those ants and someone's going to step on me, it's up to me to run out of the way. Now, if that's paranoia, okay. But, you know, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you, as the saying goes. But I just don't think that from the evidence that I can conclude that ETs are our friends. Friends don't kidnap you. Friends don't torture you. Friends don't kill you. Friends don't damage your property. Friends don't subject you to such horrible tortures that you have post-traumatic stress disorder for the rest of your life. They don't seize your children as well and subject them to torture for whatever purpose, ultimate goal they may have. Is that paranoia, or is that just good sense?
I would say that there's a lot of human beings that do that too. Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, just to name a couple.
They did it because they were psychologically aberrant. I mean, Jeffrey Dahmer ate parts of people. So did some others. We consider them psychopaths. We consider them basically insane. Are you saying that all the ETs are insane?
No, because I don't believe all of them do that.
Maybe not all of them, but enough of them.
I'm proof. I'm proof with my own experience for me, but that's just for me. I'm not speaking for everybody else here. I'm not saying
that everyone has to have a truly horrible situation. Lots of people have witnessed UFOs and had nothing come of it. Other people have witnessed UFOs and died from it. So if I see a UFO coming, I can't be sure which one it is or who it is that's coming for me. So I just have to make sure that I take care of myself.
Yeah. Well, they definitely should be. They definitely should be carrying a sign. I'll give you that. They need a sign, Rob. You know, I'm a good ET or I'm a bad ET. And I don't say that to be facetious or everything, because, my friend, I have experienced the horrible. I really have. I've also experienced the good. And you know, when you have those types of situations happening that you cannot have control of or cannot comprehend or have anything going along that, as we only got about 2.5 minutes until we go to break here at the bottom of the hour, I understand that, you know, it's gone by fast. Like, what the hell? But, Rob, I don't understand, you know, where this fear comes from. Have you been taken? Let me put it that way. Have you been taken and had a negative experience?
I had a negative experience when I was very young, about 6 years old, when I lived in Australia as a child, that I never forgot. I don't remember hardly anything about it, except that I thought of it as a dream from which I woke up to and was so frightened that I ran into my parents' bedroom and said, I just had this horrible dream that there were these creatures at the back door, and I had an overwhelming sense of fear and terror, even when I was awake. And, of course, my father goes, oh, it was just a bad dream, go to bed. That was when I was 6 years old, and I've never forgotten it. I think there was more to it than that, because I remember it explicitly, and the fear is still there every time I think of it. So, and again, I can't account for every individual's experience with UFOs or extraterrestrials. All I can do is go by the numbers, and the numbers are in the millions and the tens of thousands for people having bad experiences. And maybe after the break, you'll tell me what your good experience was, because I'd kind of like to know.
Oh, not a problem. Well, you know, I'm not adverse to sharing my own stories. I've shared them all. There's only my real bad one that I had. I've never given the full details of it. I just won't. And yeah, I mean, I can also say too, I have a fear of sharks. I don't go near the ocean because there are sharks there. I don't even swim in a swimming pool, man.
Well, you're not paranoid, are you, about sharks?
Oh, hell yes. Oh, yeah. My friend, I am a meal. I am not an appetizer. I am a meal. All right?
Well, my point is, it's not being paranoid to have good sense, is it?
Well, I don't know. Great whites like to feed. Tiger sharks like to feed. Bull sharks like to feed.
Yeah, and so do some.
Rob, you hold on here. We're going to step out for a break here at the bottom of the hour. Author Rob Shelsky is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're into a great debate right now. ET's good, ET's bad, ET's all around. We'll get into the Mandela effect, time travel later on, but the gloves are off here. The gloves are off, and this is good. RobShelsky.blogspot.com is his website. Find all of his books on Amazon. He's a fantastic writer. These are books you're going to want to have for your collection. We'll be back with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio right after this. Hey, Spaced Out Radio listeners, it's Dave Scott. I want you to check out a great documentary I'm involved in called Beyond the Spectrum, Mosson's UFO Files. Directed by Darcy Weir, the film follows Jaime Mosson's journey for mainstream journalistic truth in ufology in Mexico. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon Prime. If you're a member, watch it free. It's worth the watch. Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you will be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rockin'. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Coming up this September 21st and 22nd, all UFO eyes will be focused on Toronto for the 4th Annual Alien Cosmic Expo. Come listen to some of the biggest names and experiencers in ufology. Travis Walton, Paul Hellyer, Richard Dolan, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Randy Kramer, and Spaced Out Radio's own Dave Scott. Tickets are on sale now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Welcome, everyone listening in on Kingdom of Nye. Glad to have you with us. Hey, we want to remind everyone that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where you can read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. You can listen to the show live soon. The Gavinator will have more features for you soon. Tonight we are talking with author Rob Shelsky. Now we're getting into a little bit of a debate here, and it continued during the break. Like, I took some shots. I think Rob may have a chipped tooth now. I really do. Rob Shelsky, welcome back. We're talking debating ET contact right now. Glad to have you here, my friend.
Great. Thanks for having me. And by the way, no, my teeth are not the least bit chipped.
Oh. You're supposed to be playing along here. You're supposed to be playing along here. Like, we just, beat the daylights out of each other here, Oh, well, there goes that.
Well, do you have a chipped tooth?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I made a shot too then. Good.
Yeah. Well, mine happened. It's a hockey thing. It was a hockey thing. I'm not going to lie. But
well, being Canadian, it would be, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's done me well. So I've never had to have it fixed. So that's good. Now, I don't look like Jim Carrey off of Dumb and Dumber or anything like that, but... Yeah.
You're ruining all the ink built up during my debate.
All right. Well, you ruined it for me. Anyways, we're going to move on here. With the standard that the ET contact is happening, one of the things that through this entire disclosure movement, I'm really going to try and stay away from the 4-lettered acronym that is controlling the narrative right now. But one of the things that we have talked about a little bit on this show recently is the fact that in today's disclosure type movement or confirmation type movement, really the forgotten souls here are those who are the experiencers who really want to know, why me? Do you think that people in disclosure right now, knowing what you know from people who've experienced the phenomena, do you think they are getting ripped off right now, that their voice is not being heard?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, first of all, with all these abductions that have happened in the United States, whether or not they really happened, and psychiatrists, some say yes, most say no, that it's delusional, even if it were, when you have that huge a segment of the population claiming something as being true, it creates a powerful social phenomenon. It should be investigated simply for that reason alone, as a social phenomenon, even if you don't believe that they really experienced this. Personally, I think they did. And I think it's been happening throughout history. And I think these people should be heard. Their voices should be heard. Now, we have made attempts. We've had conferences in Washington, D.C., where pilots and press corps have gotten together, and they've divulged it. And as you said, the disclosure seems to be occurring to some degree. We've had videos and things professed by the Navy, interacting with UFOs and that sort of thing. So that's coming out. But why no one has given credence to the voice of all these hundreds of thousands of people, I don't know. They should.
Well, they should, but they never do.
They don't want to. There's a reason. There's a reason why scientists don't investigate. There's a reason why sociologists don't investigate the idea of abductions as being at the very least, a social phenomenon, if nothing more. And I think it is a lot more. Because if it is, and they do it, then they lose all funding. If you're a physicist, an astronomer, a scientist of any sort, even a sociologist, you are dependent on funding. Most of our funding comes from the government. And if you try to do anything with UFOs, you're hitting the third rail and your career is ruined. There is a concerted effort to denigrate anyone who tries to study UFOs. There is a concerted effort, I believe, to ridicule anyone that reports a UFO, whether it's a commercial airline pilot. They can be subject to psychological evaluation just for reporting one in our country. So, right. Oh, I hear one of your dogs. But, good, you've got guards. But I don't understand why, if that's the case, that the government is so intent on suppressing it so much and so long. I mean, have you ever watched reporters on TV, the anchor people report a UFO sighting? They always do it with a smirk and a chuckle and a smile, and it's a knowing smile, like always. So people are prone to yeah. I mean, I didn't even report the UFO sighting I saw over Greensboro, and I was a MUFON field investigator at the time. My state director asked me why I hadn't reported, and I said, well, there seemed no point. There's so many tens of thousands of them every year around the world. What's seeing something over a city in broad daylight going to do? I mean, how does that add to the sum total of human knowledge to any real degree? We pretty much know they exist. You know, if even only 5% of the sightings are valid, that's still an incredible number of valid sightings.
Well, I agree with you on that, and it is scary that there is so much debate in regards to being the forgotten souls. I mean, when you see things getting changed, like we're not allowed to say UFO anymore, we're supposed to say UAP, and we're not allowed to tack on aliens anymore to UFOs, which we can't say because it's UAP, and there's no aliens and UAPs that are locked in together. It's almost like the narrative is trying to confuse everybody in regards to what we are allowed to say and what we are not allowed to say.
Right. Well, as far as what we're allowed to say, the government can't dictate to us quite that well yet, as free speech still stands. And most people are still using the term UFO, and I refuse to switch to UAP because I don't find it satisfactory and I find it misleading. It's almost like when Ronald Reagan referred to nuclear missiles, which were nuclear missiles, as peacekeepers. It's using jargon to make something sound like it. Peacekeepers sound so much nicer than a nuclear missile that can blast your cities to oblivion, and that's why they use peacekeeper missile, and it never caught on really. But and I feel the same thing is happening in the UFO field. So who they are who are trying to perpetrate this, I don't agree, and I won't follow their dictates.
Rob Shelsky is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. His website, robshelsky.blogspot.com. If you want to check him on out, I highly suggest you do. Rob, let's switch gears here because I want to get into the Mandela effect with you. We'll get back to UFOs a little bit later in the show. I don't know whether it's my own memory that plays tricks on me because I've heard other people pronounce things wrong or sing the wrong lyrics to songs. I mean, I dated a girl once, long time ago, where she couldn't get the lyrics to the most simplest of songs, and it drove me nuts. But that doesn't mean it's Mandela effect or there is something happening. But on the flip side, there is a lot of real things. I have a Mandela effect item right in front of me, and that is a key that one of our listeners sent. It's an old Ford key. Now, the Ford logo allegedly never used to have that little curly Q on the middle bar of the F, but now it does. And Ford says, well, it's always been there. But he actually sent me a key that doesn't have it on the Ford logo, and you can see that it hasn't been filed down. So the Mandela effect is one of those things that I'm just not sure about. It seems weird. It seems plausible. What's your thoughts?
I think the Mandela effect is entirely real. And again, I arrived at that Reluctantly. A lot of my conclusions are not by choice, trust me. The Ford logo is strange because medallions were struck for a World's Fair, and one medallion didn't have the curlicue, and the other one did, and this was posted on the internet. You can see pictures of it, and he showed it to the appropriate people, and they can't understand it. The Ford people themselves couldn't understand it because they said, we only did one medallion for the fair, and it certainly had the curlicue on it. Well, he had one that didn't. And also they found cars in junkyards with the front of the car has the Ford logo on it with the curlicue, and the back has a logo on it that didn't. And so either Ford is wrong, or the Mandela effect is at play here. But the Mandela effect isn't just about one's memories. If it was, as psychiatrists say or psychologists say, it could be false memories. But even psychologists freely admit that they can't account for why so many people have the same false memories. And whether they're from different backgrounds, different countries, different cultures, different races, they can be completely disparate, but they'll have the same false memory, and psychologists can't account for that. But it goes further than that. There is physical evidence, like I was just talking about the Ford medallion and Ford logos on cars and junkyards, but we also have evidence for it in a lot of other ways. I've even found some myself, which amazed me. And one of the things I found was I was alerted by the fact that Dazed and Confused showed a landmass to the west of Australia, the movie. Now, that movie was filmed on location in a schoolhouse, and it was a schoolhouse globe. Two students are having their angst period, being teenagers, and they're spinning this globe while they're talking about the fate of their lives. And as the globe spins, you see, and you can freeze frame it in high resolution, has a landmass. A large one, about one-fifth the size of Australia, just to the west of Australia. No such landmass exists. I then began searching. Other people pointed out that second season of Friends, there's a globe in the background that shows an island to the southwest of Australia, a lot smaller, but it shouldn't be there. And it's not Tasmania because that also appears on the same globe to the southeast. That was in the Bracelet Buddy episode. So I really began searching through old shows and file footage, and I came across in I Dream of Jeannie an episode, I believe it was the fourth season, where they showed this globe repeatedly, and on it there's a large island off the southwest coast tip of South America. It doesn't exist. Now, this island has mountains on it, rivers, and a harbor. It also showed a landmass to the west of Australia. Again, not the same as the other two landmasses, but still there. And it also showed a large landmass in the Pacific just to the west of Central America, far too large to be Hawaii. This thing would almost be considered a small continent. And it was bisected by what looked like a river or strait. And, of course, I had photos of this. I screenshot photos of this, and they're in my book, and they're on the internet now because I posted them there. And that was my discovery, the I Dream of Jeannie one. So this is actual physical evidence. And now these movies and TV shows weren't by the same producers. They were done decades apart. And no one's going to make entire globes just as props for backgrounds. They're going to go out and buy one and stick it on a shelf like in Friends or something. So it isn't as if the same prop person was responsible in each of these shows to get these globes. And why would you go through the trouble of creating phony land masses on globes? Why wouldn't you just get a regular globe and use it? So the logic just isn't there. And then, of course, we keep finding stuff from buried in our past that doesn't belong there, so-called oop art. And there are literally thousands of these, and we've been finding them for the last 3 centuries. All sorts of different bizarre things being dug up, found in lumps of coal, and coal seams in solid rock. We have found everything from ladles, vases, spoons, kettles, locked inside of coal, 25 million year old coal. How is this stuff getting there? So it's bizarre. But yes, I think the Mandela effect does exist.
What about people who are misquoting movies or famous lines like life is like a box of chocolates?
Now, again, we're getting into memory versus physical evidence. I don't discount memories. I have a few memories of my own that are wrong, and quite a few of them do have to do with movies. Now, again, we can get a lot of things wrong. We do have false memories. When you remember something from your early childhood, you're not, like, say you were 7 years old and you have this memory of something. Your memory, when you think about it, isn't of the actual event of the memory you had at the time. It is a memory of a memory of a memory. So they get more vague and more confused over time. That's a conclusion. Excuse me. But that doesn't mean that some things just are wrong. One example I use a lot is the color chartreuse. Can you tell me what color that is?
To me, it's always been green. But I do know that there are people who say it's like a pinkish,
reddish, maroon.
Reddish,
right.
Yeah, maroon type color. And I know this because I'm an avid fisherman. And where we used to fish on the river, we would use wool as bait. And so I remember that debate going back when people would say, well, what color is that green? I said, it's chartreuse. Well, that's not chartreuse. Chartreuse is more of a pinkish red color. And I'm like, no, this is chartreuse. Here's the bag. See the title? Right?
And you know the amazing thing about that is I've asked people that same question over and over. It's almost like a test subject for me. And also I've looked at the records online for it. The thing with these false memories is when people get them wrong, they almost always get them wrong the same way. They don't say it's blue or orange or yellow. They say it's maroon, reddish purple, rose, some color like, but it's always in that same field of color, those same shades. And of course, people describe the same color a little differently at times, depending on how dark the shade is. But they're not saying blue and yellow. I've never heard anyone answer yet and say, oh, chartreuse is blue or turquoise. Never. It's always that reddish maroon rose color. Why? Why is everyone getting it wrong the same way? If we have false memories, why aren't we all just remembering it differently? But we're not.
Right. Right. And that's a strange thing. So you're not a big fan of the whole Mandela effect, as we got about 6.5 minutes here before we go to break at the top of the hour. You're not a big fan of the lines like the Berenstain Bears or the lines in Luke, You Are My Father, or movie lines that people can easily confuse, or musical lyrics. You're more into that concrete WTF stuff that is coming out.
I definitely am. Mind you, I don't discount those. When that many people get it wrong the same way, and by the way, the guy who played Darth Vader's voice in 2 different interviews when he was asked about the Luke, I am your father, that's what he said. And he spoke the line himself, and he got it wrong, because it's no, I am your father. So I think there's something to it. It's just that I won't base the evidence from my belief in the Mandela effect just on memories alone. It's not enough. It's a good start, but it's not enough. I want physical evidence as well, and I think it exists.
So give us a few more examples here.
Of the Mandela effect in particular, you mean? Okay.
That have you convinced?
All right. One of them is Smokey Bear. I grew up, and I saw the commercials over and over, Smokey the Bear, only you can prevent forest fires. Smokey the Bear, no doubt in my mind. And it's not. It's Smokey Bear. Now, I never heard the commercial say Smokey Bear says. Never. To my recollection. Mr. Rogers, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Now it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. Really? Why this neighborhood? Why not everyone's neighborhood? It's supposed to be generic. Snow White, mirror, mirror on the wall. Well, that went out the window. Now it's magic mirror on the wall. And that's in the original Walt Disney movie I saw as a young child, and I would swear to you all my life it has been mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of us all. Now it's magic mirror. This sort of thing just goes on and on and on. Oh, Looney Tunes, I got to give you that too. Looney Tunes. These are cartoons that sometimes had music in them and often did not. Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd, all of that. And now it's spelled Looney Tunes as in music tunes, crazy tunes. I always remember it as being Looney Tunes, Toons, as in cartoons, which were. Now it's not. Now it's Looney Tunes, the UNES on the end of tune. I can't account for that. It just doesn't make sense it doesn't even make logical sense to me, to be honest with you. And the movie Jaws, you're going to need a bigger boat. That was never said. Sex and the City instead of Sex in the City. I remember I watched the whole series. I'd swear to you it was Sex in the City. And also Star Trek, Beam Me Up Scotty. That was never said. Not in a single episode of any of the original Star Trek series. No one ever said, beam me up, Scotty. Yet we all remember it. How about me, Tarzan, you, Jane? There was a whole plethora of Tarzan movies in the 30s and 40s and early 50s. Yet not in one single movie did he ever say, me, Tarzan, you, Jane. Yet we all remember me, Tarzan, you, Jane.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I kind of shocked you there a little bit, didn't I?
So let's just say this phenomena is real. All right? And I'm on the fence with this one. All right? If it is real that something has happened, what happened to get us there? What do you think happened?
Well, there are several explanations that I've come up with. One is someone's coming back in time and altering events and changing the future from that point forward. So all of a sudden our memories are altered, but some of us, for some reason, it's not taking. And apparently in some movies and TV shows, it's not taking because you have those maps and globes that show different things. Another one is that it could be quantum computing or CERN are causing changes in our timeline. Or another one could be that it's a simulation that we're living in and people are making alterations to it and to fix something, and it's causing a glitch further down the line, and Mandela effects are the glitches.
What if it's just a bunch of CGI and Photoshop?
CGI and Photoshop is not likely because, like, for instance, with the I Dream of Jeannie series and those other ones as well, you can download the whole series if you want to, or buy it and look through it for yourself, freeze frame on it, and you'll see that that's what it shows. Now, I don't think they're photoshopping the original series that you're paying for, and why would they? I mean, if people are going to hoax something, they're going to hoax something that you're probably going to notice and discover. It was sheer chance, and only after tens of hours, well, hundreds of hours, really, of pouring through these things, looking for anything that had a globe in it, and then freezing on the globe, that I spotted that particular one, and it is in other movies and TV shows. So you have to use the principle of Occam's razor. You have to take the simplest explanation. And the simplest explanation is it's just too elaborate and too often to be a hoax.
So do you think there has been some sort of timeline shift then? Are we living in another dimension? There's also the theory that that's what happened in 2012 as we shift dimensions.
Absolutely. At least some of us did. Apparently you and I are from the same timeline because we both think chartreuse is green, but other people don't. Are they from another timeline? And there are people who claim that they were in another timeline and are quite upset about it. And there's several hundred of these people that are claiming this at different points in times in our history, and Lorena Garcia most recently. So, again, this is a big social phenomena. Even if it's not real in the sense that it actually is happening, it should be investigated at the very least by sociologists as a social phenomena. Why isn't it?
I don't think there's enough factual proof to show it, and that's why they won't look into it. But then again, we're also talking about people who don't believe that there's UFOs flying in the sky. So why would they even believe something as hokey as the Mandela effect?
You've been chasing them, yeah. Anyone can be in denial over anything to any degree. Skeptics can come up with almost any flimsy excuse they want to. One even said that two commercial pilots, a navigator and a flight attendant, what they saw wasn't a UFO at all in the windshield of their plane. It was a firefly trapped between two panes of glass. A firefly buzzing around between two panes of glass at 40,000 feet. Pretty flimsy explanation.
Absolutely. Rob Shelsky is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We are going to continue with the Mandela Effect talk, get into some time travel, then back to UFOs. We're going to have a lot more fun tonight. RobShelsky.blogspot.com is his site. Hour 2 coming up next.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR, where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com, where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com, and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
Canada's largest UFO conference is ready to roll in Toronto this September 21st and 22nd at the Alien Cosmic Expo. This year is about the experience. Listen to the stories of Dave Scott, Travis Walton, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Ryan Stacey, Richard Dolan, Leslie Mitchell-Clark, and more. Get your tickets now at aliencosmicexpo.com. Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Hey fans, it's Dave Scott. Do I have something for you to check out? A great documentary about legendary Mexican investigative journalist Jaime Maussan and his search for the truth about UFOs. Beyond the Spectrum, Maussan's UFO files can be found on Amazon Prime. It's free to watch if you're a member. You might even hear me in it. So check out Beyond the Spectrum, only on Amazon Prime. The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacey, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California. Down in New Orleans, we're on UPRN 107.7 FM. In Dangerfield, Texas, KDNF AM 1560 and KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon. On the digital side, hi to everyone listening in on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Good to have you with us. Remember, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Nympholepsy. Nympholepsy is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where you can read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, listen to the show live. The Gavinator will have new features coming very, very soon. Tonight we are talking the Mandela effect, time travel, UFOs. We may get into Mars if we could sneak it on in. Our guest tonight, Rob Shelsky. RobShelsky.blogspot.com is his website. All of his books, and I highly suggest you get them, are on Amazon. So make sure you check those on out and add them to your collection. Rob, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me back. What is
Not
this,
a problem.
round 3 now?
This is round 3. Yes, we'll call it round 3 for now. In regards to the Mandela effect, you know, I asked you right before the break about whether or not we had a timeline shift or whether it's CERN or something along those lines. People haven't changed, but we've seen people go missing as well. Do you think that some of these people who have gone missing have gone back to maybe that original timeline?
Well, I hope so. I hope they haven't just simply snuffed, out of existence completely. I mean, one of the things you have to realize is if these land masses existed on Earth, if they were on globes from the 60s, the 90s, and the early 2000s, in various movies and television shows, if they were on various maps around the world that people have found, if they're disappearing, and by the way, we have disappeared islands throughout history. I mean, there's a long list of islands that simply vanished. Now, people had to have lived on these islands. The landmass to the west of Australia from Dazed and Confused was a fifth the size of Australia. It could have had easily several million people on it. Where did they go? Some of them might have been related to us, our friends, mothers, fathers, daughters, sisters, brothers. The island's gone and so are they, and the worst part is we have no memory of them. It's as if they never existed at all. We can't remember if they existed. That's the terrible part. If people are being snuffed out of existence, that's bad enough. At least you have memories of them. But our memories of them are snuffing out of existence along with them, and that's frightening.
Well, where do you think these land masses are going? Where do you think these people are going? Where do you think that these movie lines are going? Where did C-3PO's legs change color?
Well, apparently it's in another timeline, and you can trace most of the Mandela effect to the early 2000s, although some instances of it date back further. But my research has shown that it seems to be coming to the forefront around the 1990s, early 1990s and then forward, based on the evidence I've gathered. Something happened then, and I think it wasn't CERN because they were around before that to a certain degree. And we've been smashing atoms for a long time, and also the universe does it all the time, too, without changing timelines. So I'm thinking it's quantum in nature. I think when we use quantum computers, according to one of the founders of D-Wave himself, one of the two founders, he said we're accessing quantum computers in other timelines, and that's what creates the speed of the calculations. Now, this is from a seminar that he did and was later posted on YouTube. You can look it up for yourself, see it for yourself, listen to him yourself. It's real. It's there. And it's not fake. And the problem with that is, if we're doing something like that, what are the side effects of doing something brand new when we're not even sure there should be side effects? I mean, when we run regular computers, there's no side effects, so one would think that most people wouldn't think a quantum computer would be a problem. But what if it is? When we first blew up atomic bombs, we knew they were dangerous, but we had no idea how dangerous they were. We knew there was fallout, but we didn't realize how long it could last. We didn't realize all the repercussions, the mutations it could cause. There's a lot more to it than we thought. We just blew up a few bombs and thought, hey, it works, let's drop them on Japan. And without any thought of the repercussions. By the way, they did come up with one. Some of the scientists said there was a small mathematical probability that an atomic bomb could ignite the atmosphere and burn off the entire atmosphere of the Earth, just one nuclear bomb. But we went ahead and used it anyway because we felt it was such a small possibility, why worry about it? Well, that could have been the end of us right there. And maybe it was. Maybe we're a different timeline from that point forward. But I think these people are disappearing to other timelines. We're merging and mixing and splitting. And I think these islands did exist and probably still do in another timeline. We just don't remember them.
So do you think there are multiple timelines going on right now?
Absolutely. I mean, quantum physics almost demands the fact that we live in a multi-universe and that parallel realities must exist almost to the point of infinity, if not infinity. Every time a particle decides to decay or not decay, the theory is that it must cause the universe to split, one where it decayed and one where it didn't, Schrodinger's cat. And they say Schrodinger's cat isn't a problem. It isn't alive and dead at the same time because in one universe it's alive and in the other universe it's dead. So if every time a decision is made of any sort, the universe splits, you're going to have multiple timelines, and they're going to be very, very close to ours. Maybe the difference of one atom splitting or not difference, like strands of spaghetti all lying side by side. It wouldn't take much, I think, to interfere with them, especially if we're using quantum computers and other timelines to help our own quantum computers find solutions. So if that is actually happening, as one of the founders of D-Wave insists it is, and others as well, and if you go by Everett from Princeton back in the early 60s, who said there were the many worlds theory, then yeah, there's got to be multiple timelines.
All right, let's get to a question from the chat room in Spreaker. This one comes from PBR, who is saying, Rob, you write a lot of science fiction books. So where do you draw the line between reality and imagination?
I don't. No, I'm kidding. Sorry, but sometimes it's very simple. My science fiction books are fiction, but they are based on some science. My book, The God Factor, for instance, is based on the idea of the ancient alien theories, that sort of thing. I find facts that we discover in the field of science each year intriguing, and I like to extrapolate and see what would happen, and that's where the fiction comes in. But I'm very rigorous in my research, and also I'm rather rigorous with my science fiction books. I tend to base them on fact as well. Yes, they are fiction, but the basis is in reality.
All right, let's move on to another question. PBR says, how many dimensions do you think there are?
Okay, that's a kind of a trick question. String theory says there's around 11 dimensions. Some say 7, some say 9, some say 11. If he's referring to other timelines, I would guess an infinity of timelines. And if it's a multi-universe, the very minimum would be a figure of well over 500,000 based on one inflation theory, and that too could be infinity. So it just depends on what kind of dimension he's talking about, if it's a parallel reality or if it's an actual other dimension like a fifth or sixth or seventh dimension.
So when you look at this whole dimensional theory that is out there, do you think there are multiple of you, multiple of me out there? Do you think there are dimensions where maybe Kennedy never got killed, or Hitler won the war in World War II? Like, where do you think it ends?
I don't think it does it. I think there's an infinite number of parallel universes, and there's an infinite number of parallel universes that have you in it. In some you were never born, in some you died, in some you probably went on to be a billionaire, in others you became a priest, and in some others you became a criminal, and in still others you became a scientist, and others you became a derelict and homeless. I think every possibility, according to quantum theory, every probability, if you go by the many worlds theory, has to play out. Every possible permutation has to play out. So basically, you are not just one person, but an infinity of you exist. And who knows, maybe part of each of our souls is in all of them, and we have, all together, we form a hypersoul. I have no idea. But the fact that there should be alternate yous and a subset that is an infinite subset of yous probably is true. At least quantum theory predicts it.
So what you're saying is there is one dimension out there where I'm actually fit and handsome. Wow. I don't believe you now. I don't believe you now, my friend.
And there'll be timelines where you're born sooner. The timelines don't have to run parallel time-wise. There could be a universe that started before ours, so you might have existed in that universe several centuries ago and have been long dead. And there might be other universes where they started later than ours. So I'm sorry, they started later than ours, so we're running behind. But in other universes where we're actually, if we crossed over, we'd be in our own future. So all the possible, and there might even be timelines that run sideways to ours. Whereas if you crossed into them, you could live there for years and come back to the exact same moment you left because time goes sideways in them rather than, let's say, parallel to our timeline. And I like to call them timelines rather than dimensions. Both work, but for me, timeline is a little more accurate.
Okay, so what's the difference in that? Because I always thought they were two different things, timeline and dimension.
Well, and they are. A dimension to me is something like the first, second, or third dimension, which we live in supposedly, although some say we actually are a holographic projection from a two-dimension. And the fourth dimension supposedly is time. Einstein thinks that space and time are wrapped up in our one thing, space-time. String theory says there are other dimensions, but they're so small they're curled up inside of us in our universe, and so they're so small that it would exist like between your shirt and your skin. So those to me are dimensions. Timelines are parallel realities that form every time a decision. I call it a decision or a choice, but it's a probability. And there's a lot of evidence to show that matter doesn't even exist. It's just possibilities or probabilities, because when we look at it, it becomes a particle. When we don't look at it, it's a wave of probabilities, which means that it could be that there's a probability, a large one, that you are where you are right now, but there is a very, very small probability that you could suddenly be somewhere else as well instead of. So you could be out in space, suddenly appear there, or on the moon, or at the other side of the universe. But the main probability wave is that you'll be here. But given enough time and enough chances, it would happen to you. If you pushed your hands against a wall, you're going to be stopped every time. But if you could go for practically eternity, sooner or later, you could put your hand right through that wall, according to quantum physics.
Is this where time travel comes into play?
Could be. It could be very well that that's what it is. Time travel could be the result of extraterrestrials, people from our own future, or maybe someone from the far past. Remember, once you have a time machine, it doesn't matter where you go because you can go anywhere, anytime. So if a race maybe 3 billion years ago invented a time machine, they could come here. They don't have to be from our future. Or it could be someone from our far future, maybe 1 trillion years in the future, coming to our time. Or it could be that somewhere along the line we invented a time machine and people are using it. There are those who claim this.
Everett has an interesting question. He says, if multiple timelines exist and I go to another timeline, where does the me from that timeline go when I get there?
Good point. We don't know. It would probably still be there because it's a different existing person than you, or it could be that you simply can't go there. Up until now, science seems to say that we can't do that. If we ever are able to do it, then we can answer that question. But until then, his guess is as good as mine. And no, I don't think we both disappear in a flash of energy because it isn't the same person. Even if you came back from the future and ran into yourself, I don't think you both disappear in a flash of energy because the you from the future is different from the you that is now.
All right. I got a message from Marty, one of our very, very awesome veterans who listens to this show. He's on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio. We'll be seeing our music man, Bumblefoot, live in Vegas here tomorrow night. I'm a little jealous, Marty. But he's saying, Rob, the so-called landmass on the globe is actually the globe maker's information. He says he has one, and it says copyright 1980 scan globe AS Denmark. It is right next to Australia.
Well, that's new to me. I've not heard of that one. The ones I've seen, actually, the ones I've seen, the land masses aren't the same. You have the very large one in Dazed and Confused. You have slightly smaller one a good deal smaller in Friends. You have a completely different one in I Dream of Jeannie. I mean, I'm not sure how or why this is happening, but it is happening, I think, personally. I mean, if someone pointed a gun at my head and says, is this happening or not, I'd have to guess yes, it is, and hope I was right.
All right, let's move on here. Tripp has a question for you. Any word on the mirror universe experiment?
From what I've seen of it so far, they haven't got the results in yet. They are hoping to, but so far I haven't. I was just checking on that today, as a matter of fact, and maybe what I saw was old, but no, not yet so far. They're hoping to, but again, not yet. They have to see if these things will actually switch these particles, and that's going to take a little while, I think.
Getting back to time travel, do you think that we have been visited by time travelers?
There's a lot of evidence for it. And again, how else do we explain so much? The OOPArt, again, we found a machined cube of aluminum in a layer in an archaeological dig, and I think it was in Germany, that just didn't belong there. We have found, again, those ladles and vases and handbells. We found over 12,000 screws. I call them screws, but some of them are extremely tiny nano screws up in the Ural Mountains in Russia, all along a river and its tributary, some buried 30 feet deep and dating back at least 12,000 years, therefore. And some some of the alloys used in these nanoscrews, different alloys and different sizes, were titanium. Well, we sure as heck didn't have titanium 12,000 years ago. It takes extremely high temperatures to refine it. So how do we explain this? The map of the Creator, a huge stone found again in Russia, shows a depiction of that area and the rivers there as if they've been terraformed, complete with channels and dams and even diverting the entire river. And moreover, it seems to show it from an altitude of 30,000 feet. And it's on a rock that is bonded in 3 layers, with the top layer being clear, and they can't figure out how that could even be possible. And the stone itself seems to date back some, I think they've guesstimated anywhere from 25 to 250 million years. So what's going on? Where's this stuff coming from, if not time travelers?
What about people like John Teeter? You buy it?
He's a hoax.
Why do you say it's a hoax?
Oh, because the evidence is in, and he's a hoax. It turns out 2 brothers down in Florida were involved with it, and one's name was John, and they were on the Internet quite early on, and they even copyrighted, I believe it was the name John Teeter, and they did several books on the subject. It's a hoax. Or at least, if it's not a hoax, in my opinion, let me put it that way, it's definitely a hoax, and in the opinion of most researchers, it's a hoax. Also, remember, a lot of the predictions made just haven't happened.
Yeah, we haven't gone to nuclear war yet.
No, and we didn't have the country break up into 5 regions, and we didn't have all this stuff that was claimed and was supposed to have happened quite a few years ago, some of it, and some even further back. So, no, I don't buy it.
Do you believe, then, that other people have come? What about people like Andrew Bashago, who say they've traveled back in time as a chrononaut? Do you buy his story?
I include him in my book because he does have 2 other people that claim the same thing. Again, it's anecdotal. There's no hard evidence to back his claim, and his claims are extreme. Let's be honest here. But I included the book because when more than one person claims something, and they are people of reasonably good reputation and background, I can't simply dismiss them out of hand. Is it compelling or convincing evidence? No, but it is of interest to me.
So what makes you believe that Andrew Bashago and friends might be telling the truth?
Well, I don't know that I believe that they're telling the truth. I give them credence that they might be telling the truth. Because, again, you have 3 people involved in this, corroborating their stories, and a couple of other people sort of on the sideline also corroborating it to a certain degree. So, again, I just can't dismiss it out of hand. And some of what they say is fairly compelling. It's extreme, but it's also compelling. Again, if someone pointed a gun at my head and said, is this true? I'd probably have to say no, but it would be with reservations because I feel I could be wrong on that one.
Okay, so let's look into him a little bit, because this has been a very, very pointed view of controversy here in regards to time travel and whether or not we have time travel capabilities here. And we have jump rooms around the world, namely in the United States. So if this is happening, do you think it's a program that's still continuing today? And we only got about 45 seconds, and we can continue this after the break as well.
I hope it's not continuing today if it is real, but I suspect if it is real, it probably is continuing.
Why is that?
Well, because, if they have that capability and that power, they're not going to give it up easily. People love power and control, and if you have that kind of power and that kind of control over time travel and also interspatial travel as a result, you're not going to just throw it away. You're going to keep doing it.
That's probably a good place to end it here while we go to break at the bottom of the hour here. We're going to continue on with a little bit of time travel talk, take your questions. Our guest tonight is Rob Shelsky. He's a great author. You want to make sure that you go and you check out his books. They're all on Amazon.com. His website is also robshelsky.blogspot.com. More time travel, more UFO talk. Maybe we'll hit Mars. We're going to see where this journey goes because we don't know which dimension we're in on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Stay tuned. Hey, Spaced Out Radio listeners, it's Dave Scott. I want you to check out a great documentary I'm involved in called Beyond the Spectrum, Mosson's UFO Files. Directed by Darcy Weir, the film follows Jaime Mosson's journey for mainstream journalistic truth in ufology in Mexico. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon Prime. If you're a member, watch it free. It's worth the watch.
Coming up this September 21st and 22nd, all UFO eyes will be focused on Toronto for the 4th Annual Alien Cosmic Expo. Come listen to some of the biggest names and experiencers in ufology. Travis Walton, Paul Hellyer, Richard Dolan, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Randy Kramer, and Spaced Out Radio's own Dave Scott. Tickets are on sale now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We've passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters, thanking each and every one of you for tuning us in. The chat rooms and Twitter are hopping tonight. Make sure you check them out at hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter, and our chat rooms, the SOR Space Travelers Club on Facebook. You got the Spreaker chat room. You got the Revolution Radio chat room. You guys are making a lot of fun tonight. Keep it up. Keep it up. Hey, I want to remind all of you that you can check out our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget, you can read up on all of the SOR Newswire put together by Captain Shirk on our website, spacedoutradio.com. Soon, the Gavinator will have more features for you. We introduce Rob Shelsky tonight on Spaced Out Radio. He is our guest all night long as we are talking Mandela effect, time travel, UFOs. We're going the distance on this one, man. It is a lot of fun. Rob's website is robshelsky.blogspot.com. You can check out all of his books on Amazon as well. Rob, welcome back to the show.
Well, again, thanks for having me back. I guess it's round 4 now, huh?
Oh, yeah. It is on.
Yeah.
It is on. The gloves are still off. We're doing the Canada thing here. Hey, in regards to time travel, all right, do you know of anybody who has actually built a time travel machine that claims to have worked and maybe proven it?
Yes, and oddly enough, he's Canadian, one of your fellow countrymen, and it was in Toronto. His name was Sid Hurwitz, and he was born in 1918, and he grew up in the city of Toronto, and he was basically a repairman, but an incredible repairman. I mean, he could do all sorts of things. Now, I mean, that doesn't sound like a good deal, but he did go to war, and the Canadian government, the Toronto, asked him to be removed from it so that he could then help them build the electric grid for the city of Toronto. So he knew his stuff. And he was very good at all sorts of machinery. Well, supposedly he developed a time machine. I'm not quite sure you'd call it a time machine per se because it apparently froze time. Now, in the city of Toronto in 1969, there were a lot of bank robberies. So he called the police and said, I have a machine that might help you. He said that he could freeze time, and so the police, could use that to help get a hold of the robbers. So the police came out, And they interviewed him, and he asked one of them to place his gun on a table, and he froze it in time. And the policeman could not remove the gun from the table. Their watches had also frozen on time. They didn't do anything. They were off from the current time when it finally started up again by some 25 minutes. And as they were leaving, his wife overheard one of the policemen comment that it would have good military applications. And this was all according to an account published in the Vancouver Sun-Times at the time. Now, that's incredible enough, but it gets even more incredible because Sid was Jewish, and he attended a synagogue, and I can't pronounce the name, looks like Chedek, in Toronto. And he was given an award, ultimately, and it was the Protectors of the State of Israel Award, and was from the Zionist Organization of Canada. Now, the reason for this was that he had apparently given them great aid in something, and the facts seem to show that it had to do with the raid on Entebbe in Uganda. And the event of him receiving the award was posted in the Toronto Star, and it said that for great services rendered to the government of Israel, but at no point did it say why. Now, this is very unusual because usually when that award's given out, you're told why it was given out, but no one ever told them. So apparently it was a state secret. So it's hard to believe that Sid Hurwitz was a crackpot, given his background, his capabilities, the fact that the government was backing him and wanted him to help them with the grid, the fact that he was incredibly successful. He had a company called Sidco Company, another one called Shock Electric, and he was a millionaire. So this was not a stupid or crazy person. So is the story true that someone had built something that could freeze time? Again, there seems to be reasonable evidence to suppose that they did, and that therefore the Israeli government is now in possession of it.
Wow, that's unbelievable. So is this gentleman still alive?
No, he passed away since then. He was born in, I believe, 1908. So if he was still alive, he'd be well over 100 years old. But, but I mean, you can go online, type in Sid Hurwitz. They'll show you a photo of him holding up his award, his special award. So it is, or you can look up the archives for both newspapers, and they will show you the articles that were done at that time. So again, there's ample evidence to support this story. Is it true? I don't know. But it certainly is intriguing, is it not?
It is completely intriguing. Did this guy ever write down where he thought he went with this back in time?
No, he never said that he went back in time. He only said that he could freeze time. And in the process of freezing time, objects in the room with him could not move, whether it was the hands on the dial of an old-fashioned watch or whether it was a gun lying on a table. Things simply could not be moved. Oddly enough, the people weren't affected. So was it some kind of electromagnetic style of thing? I don't know. A wooden table and a gun are hardly magnetic towards each other. So something was at work here. And it's again, I find it very intriguing. I mean, there are reports in newspapers, there is his history, the fact that he actually existed, his companies existed. I mean, all the stuff surrounding the story is true. So I would guess the story might actually be true.
Did you ever hear the story of Granger Taylor on Vancouver Island? Because I know you lived on Vancouver Island for a couple of years.
Yes, I did, but no, I never heard that story.
Well, this is a gentleman who claimed that he was going to be picked up by extraterrestrials and brought back. He's never come back. The police believe he committed suicide, built a UFO in his front yard.
Yes, I did hear that story. You're quite right. I did hear that story. The disappearance. I was thinking of in relation to time travel. You switched gears on me there. So what was it you were going to say? I'm sorry.
Well, just in regards to time travel and space travel and everything, it's just kind of weird because, you know, here we have another Canadian who believes that he's going to be picked up by aliens, and we have people making time machines that allegedly work. What the hell is in the water up here, and why didn't I get to drink any of it?
Well, maybe you're better off not having drunk it, you know? I mean, you know, they're telling the truth and strange things are happening in Canada, but then they're happening all around the world, too. And but it seems like Canada is having its share. I mean, you've got that disappeared village up there, the Anjikuni tribal village, where all the people disappeared from it. So definitely have had your share of things going on up there, no doubt.
I know. If you know the story of Miriam Delicado, that happened in my town. I think I actually found the place where she was abducted along the highway by aliens.
And do you believe the story is true?
Yes, I do.
And why do you believe the story is true?
I read people pretty darn good. At least I think I do. Sometimes I'm wrong, but when you hear the emotions in someone's voice and the fluctuations in the way they are telling a story, it's pretty easy to tell whether someone's making something up or not.
And yet there are people who are pathological liars who are very convincing when they lie, because and they even pass lie detector tests. So although that would seem to be a reliable form of evidence for you, and it is for me, by the way, by and large, I go by what people tell me, and I look at them in the eyes and in the face and listen to them and the inflection and tone of their voice, and I make judgments on that. I think we all do. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's true all the time, though. By the way, I think it is true in her case. I believe it's true in most cases of abductions. I think some people do have psychological, emotional problems, and they just think they've been abducted or want to believe they've been abducted, but I think there are many, many people who have actually been abducted.
I believe that too. Do you believe in the statistics in regards to people who've been abducted that the FBI put out? Butch Witkowski from UFO Cop, who's a regular on this show, he knows a buddy who works for the FBI who claims to say that about 1.3 million Americans go missing every year. And after they break it down from kidnapping to people running away to suicides to murders and people just wanting to go off the grid, it comes down to about 65,000 people a year that they cannot claim what happened to them. Cannot figure it out.
Yeah, in my book, Deadly UFOs and the Disappeared, I particularly talk about that. It's funny because I did my own calculations based on population data that I've seen and nothing to do with the FBI, and I came up with a slightly more conservative figure of around 50,000. But we're in the ballpark there together. And by the way, the same holds true for Australia and every other country that reports these kind of disappearances. Australia is about 30,000 people. They only have about 25 million, so that's a large number. And again, in Alaska, a heck of a lot of people have disappeared, and again, by my calculations, it's been over a couple decades, but it's the equivalent of 7% of the population. So they're referring to it as the Alaska Triangle. So now you start multiplying this times every country on Earth, and we don't have data from every country. There's a lot of countries that simply don't maintain that kind of data down in South America, Africa, parts of Asia, for instance. But if you project the share, so to speak, of each of those countries and add it into the total, it's an incredible number. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of people a year just vanish permanently. And where are they going? And if there seems to be a good deal of evidence that in a lot of disappearances, UFOs are involved. So, again, they're disappearing in broad daylight. They're disappearing under all sorts of circumstances. And I'm pretty sure it's not with their permission, if you get my drift.
I do understand that. And 65,000, let's just say hypothetically, turn up the woo a little bit here, that if they are being taken by aliens or any type of government program and being used as some sort of guinea pigs, that's a healthy portion of the population that's a small city every year disappearing. That's what that is.
And that's just the United States alone. And then you have to multiply that times every country on the planet. And how many do we have then? And where are they going and what's being done to them? I don't think it's all for experiments. I think something else is going on as well. And again, they're not coming back, so they can't tell us what it is. Now, are all these people who are disappearing given the choice? No, I don't think so. I don't think any of them are given a choice, because otherwise they'd come back and they'd be talking about it. But they're not. They don't come back. They're permanently gone. And that's a huge number. You would expect a small percentage at least would say, no, I want to go home to my family. I miss my child. I miss my mother, whatever. But they're not coming back, so apparently they're not given a choice. And when you're not given a choice, that tells me something bad is going on.
Do you think the government has any play in this?
I think the government is probably incapable of doing anything about it. I think the government has either de facto surrendered the right to controlling our people to these aliens, and it may be because they're getting technology in return, or maybe it's just to keep it under wraps so that people don't panic. Imagine if the government told us, yes, some 65,000 or 50,000 people a year are going to disappear from our country, and there's nothing we can do about it. Would you go out at night? Would you have your children go out at night? Would you have your children play out in the backyard? It would radically change the way human beings behave on this world.
Isn't that true? That is totally true. I mean, it's almost like that movie, The Purge, except we don't know when it's happening. And right, and it's happening all the time and any time. And now that we think that the UFOs are also using cloaking capabilities, based on a lot of reports about that as well, including by commercial pilots over Paris, France, over the English Channel, all this sort of thing, they could be hovering in the sky above you right now. You could go out for a smoke outside and simply not come back. And by the way, it happens all the time. There's been cases throughout history where people leave to go to the corner store to get a pack of cigarettes and never come back, never heard from again, never turn up anywhere else. So, I mean, people are disappearing, fact. People in their thousands are disappearing yearly in America, fact. Multiply that times all the disappearances around the world, and you have a huge number, tens of thousands of people disappearing every year. Fact. They're not coming back. Fact. So what's happening to them? Again, if it's not their choice, and none of them are having second thoughts and being allowed to come back, then one has to assume that what's happening is not good. Would you want to leave your family forever? Would you, if you're suddenly abducted and they said, you can stay with us forever, would you just turn your back on your pets and your family and whatever and your friends? I don't think I would. Well, it all depends. Is the mother-in-law included?
Well, there you go. I mean, there are always these extraneous factors. There are things that would drive you to want to stay away for good, and there are some things that make you want to come back. But these people are disappearing. They're young. They have families. They're old. They have spouses. They're every age. There's a case where one child left the farm, not the farm, but his house, to go to the well. And this is an old case, and to get water. And when he didn't come back, they went out looking for him. They saw his footprints heading towards the well, and they stopped in mid-step. And there was snow on the ground, and there were no other footprints anywhere around. They said it was as if he had just been lifted up into the air, never to be seen again, never heard from. This has happened so many times, it's unbelievable. Now, who is doing this? Why are they doing it? And did that kid have any choice? Well, he never came back. So one has to assume he had no choice. Now, that family is grieving for him. He may be grieving for his family, or he may be long dead. For all I know, he could have been eaten. But the point is, we don't know. And when you don't know, you grieve and you have no closure, and I don't understand how anyone can think that that's a good thing, and that whoever's doing that could be considered benign or spiritual or our space brothers.
Are there any cases that really stand out to you regarding this?
Well, it depends on what century you're talking about. There are a lot of cases
disappearing. What's one that stuck with you?
Well, the one of that child, but there's so many others. And, of course, David Paulides, I can never pronounce his last name right. He's written several books on the subject, the missing, 411. But if you were talking about an ancient case, there was one fellow who was betting with some friends that he could run a certain distance, and they said, okay, let's see you do it. But they didn't trust him. It's a bet was involved. So they followed him in a car right behind him as he ran down the road. He fell forward and disappeared. Never heard from or seen again. Now, England's not a huge country, and at that time, they were pretty good at keeping records for tax purposes and things. He never showed up anywhere, and all these people in this car swore that he vanished in front of their eyes. So what happened to him? There's the case of Dideracci in Prussia in 1815. He's in prison, shackled, ball and chain kind of thing. He walks out into the prison yard and vanishes. And the other prisoner said that he slowly faded from view right in front of them. This goes on and on and on. And in more recent times, you have the so-called Bennington Triangle up in the Vermont area, where an old man on a bus with his luggage was on the bus at the beginning of the trip, and when they stopped, he wasn't there. His luggage still was. Never seen again. Never heard from again. Young woman in the same area, hiking, just a little ways ahead of an older couple. She rounded a boulder. The couple assumed they'd see her again. When they rounded the boulder, she was gone. Her equipment was gone, never seen again. And that smacks of the missing 411 thing. And again, this goes on by the thousands all the time. And they're just not ever found again. So the evidence is in, and I don't think the evidence points to anything good.
You don't think it's Bigfoot?
Well, I would assume that possibly it could be Bigfoot, except I don't think he's snatching people off of a bus. And he would leave footprints, I would assume, like with the child in the snow. And also in many other cases, including some talked about by David, it's the same thing. There's no footprints, no evidence of any kind of interaction with anyone. And but the people just disappear. So, and also in many of these cases, UFOs are sighted or odd orbs in the sky, even with the Dyatlov Pass incident with those young skiers who all died so horribly. And they didn't disappear, they died. The orange orbs were seen several nights up to the night of their disappearance. So one has to conclude that it may have something to do with UFOs simply by the preponderance of evidence for it.
We only got about 2 minutes here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Rob, in regards to people disappearing, do you think that we will ever see traces or get to know what actually happened to them? Because I am a believer that there is a list somewhere that if it is aliens and we've had contact, like so many in the government believe, I believe there is a list of these contactees. Do you believe that list exists?
Well, it could. There is a so-called Sheldon list that he made, Sidney Sheldon, before he died, the writer, and he was not in any way ever wrote science fiction or anything of the sort, but his last book, oddly enough, was about extraterrestrials, and he had created this list of people who had died under strange circumstances. So, yeah, there could be a list of the contactees. I'm not saying that contactees don't really have this stuff happening to them, but you have to remember that perhaps sometimes they're being lied to. Disinformation. It isn't just by our government necessarily. It could be by extraterrestrials as well.
Interesting. That's pretty thick, man.
And frightening.
Well, it all depends on where it goes, right? It all depends. I think it's completely different that if the government knows about it and the government is allowing these things to happen, which we
they may not be able to stop it. They simply may have no choice in the matter. They may just be putting the best face on a bad situation, or they could be actively in collusion, or they could be in collusion because they have no choice but to be in collusion.
Well, we'll soon see if the first alien shows up on the White House lawn and introduced by the president. But until then, we got to go to break here. We're going to go to break. Final time, we will go to break with Rob Shelsky tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We have him for another 30 minutes on the program. And then in hour number 3 at the bottom, we will get into the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day. So we got another jam-packed hour coming up on Spaced Out Radio. It's going to be a good one. We're going to get more into UFOs. Try and sneak in some Mars stuff, maybe some more time travel. Wherever you want to go, tell me in the chat rooms or on Twitter. We'll make it happen. Rob's website, robshelsky.blogspot.com. Grab all his books on Amazon as well. Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot THAL. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Canada's largest UFO conference is ready to roll in Toronto this September 21st and 22nd at the Alien Cosmic Expo. This year is about the experience. Listen to the stories of Dave Scott, Travis Walton, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Ryan Stacey, Richard Dolan, Leslie Mitchell-Clark, and more. Get your tickets now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Hey fans, it's Dave Scott. Do I have something for you to check out? A great documentary about legendary Mexican investigative journalist Jaime Maussan and his search for the truth about UFOs. Beyond the Spectrum, Maussan's UFO files can be found on Amazon Prime. It's free to watch if you're a member. You might even hear me in it. So check out Beyond the Spectrum, only on Amazon Prime.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacey, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
From the mile-high mountains of Colorado to all of you around the world, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I invite you to stick around spacedoutradio.com for Saturday and Sunday nights where I host Spaced Out Weekend. Let me take you on a wild ride of weird and strange topics from ghosts and ETs to remote viewing, psychic phenomena, and so much more. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time on Spaced Out Weekend, where we own the night.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, we are on a few terrestrial stations we want to say hello to. KDNF, AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas. KDUN, AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon. KZFX, 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California. WQEE, 99.1 FM in Newnan, Georgia. And UPRN, 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, hi to everyone listening in on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Good to have you with us. Remember, all of our archives are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Nympholepsy. Nympholepsy is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where you can read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. You can listen to the show live. The Gavinator will have new features coming very, very soon. For the final time tonight, we introduce author Rob Shelsky. What a pleasure it's been to have Rob on the show tonight. You can find all of his books on Amazon, his website, robshelsky.blogspot.com. Rob, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, I'm having a great time.
Recently, we just celebrated the 50th anniversary of the first landing on the moon by Apollo 11. Neil Armstrong's famous line, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." What's your thoughts on that 50 years later? Why do you think we haven't gone back to the moon?
By the way, that's a Mandela effect, supposedly. It's supposed to be one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. Yet when you listen to the broadcast, it's very hard to hear an in there. Just thought I'd mention that. I'm sorry, what was your question again? I got a little sidetracked there.
Why do you think we never went back to the moon?
Oh, I think we were warned off. I think something went down. It just doesn't make sense. Yes, NASA could have lost funding for it, but, I calculated the cost of the International Space Station If you do it in dollars of the time versus the inflated dollars of today, it cost a great deal more than the entire Apollo program did. So saying that it was just cheaper to do a space station than it was to go back to the moon doesn't make sense. And we simply did not learn a great deal about the moon. I mean, we did, but we didn't. There was so much more to learn, so many questions still going on. So I think we were kind of warned off. I mean, why haven't we been back in over 40 years? We certainly have had the technology. I mean, we went up with very primitive devices in 1969 to land on the moon, incredibly primitive. I mean, the onboard computer for their Apollo 11 had less computing power than the average pocket calculator has. So we've really progressed since then, and it should be a lot easier to go back, but we haven't. And the question is why? My answer is we were told not to.
All right. Well, that leads to another question, though. Who told us not to go back?
Well, there's a lot of evidence for the Apollo missions having been dogged, and also a lot of our other stuff, including the International Space Station, by UFOs and strange sightings throughout the whole history of NASA. I mean, I was watching live one time the woman commander of a space shuttle in Earth orbit, and she's floating in the cabin, and she says right out loud, "There's that alien spaceship again." Then suddenly, it went completely silent. Now, she was still there, still live feed, still floating on the cabin, and her mouth is moving, but you don't hear anything. They had switched her to a private channel, an encoded channel. This happens over and over again. Mitchell, one of the astronauts, says that UFOs actually exist. Gordon, another one, says pretty much the same thing. So I think they were there. I think there was reports of something following Apollo 11. NASA said, well, perhaps it's your booster rocket tailing you. And they said, no, we see that, and it's not that. It's something else. So this, and then the stories have circulated that privately the astronauts reported ships on a ridge overlooking them and watching their every move. And I just can't help thinking that we were warned off the moon and it was extraterrestrials.
Do you believe in the story where Neil Armstrong allegedly said on the emergency channel, they are here, they are on the hill, they are watching us?
Yes, I think it probably is true. If you base all the other evidence, like that woman that commander that said, I see the alien spaceship again, why would that be any less true than what she said? And you're getting this evidence from fairly factual people. I mean, people have careers and things to lose. So, yes, I believe it. Do I believe it enough to die for it? Is someone pointing a gun at me again? I'm not sure, but probably.
Why do you think so few astronauts then have come through?
They're not allowed to. Again, it's that third rail. You speak about it. They probably have signed non-disclosure agreements, but a lot of them have come forward, or at least a decent number have come forward enough. I mean, are they lying? I don't think so. So my opinion is it really happened, and they have careers to think of. They probably signed non-disclosures, and they probably know darn well that the government would come after them. So, yeah, I think they've been told to shut up.
Although astronauts have come out, they have said things. We've seen the feeds cut. And it just absolutely amazes me that, you know, whether it's an astronaut like the late Dr. Edgar Mitchell, or whether it's somebody like Robert Bigelow, who isn't an astronaut but a multi-billionaire going in the public eye, and people like that coming out saying, you know, this phenomena is real, this is what's going on, and yet crickets from the mainstream. And you would think that the amount of education that goes into being an astronaut, that these guys would have a lot of pull. They would have a lot of say, and that if they come out and say, yeah, we encountered extraterrestrials or we encountered alien craft while we were orbiting the Earth, that a lot more people would be paying attention.
Oh, absolutely. And yet they're not. And it's that great silence that concerns me. There has to be a reason for it. Why are they being disregarded? Why are they being just completely ignored? I mean, no one's gone after these astronauts, but by the same token, nobody has, other than those who are trying to find the truth, And I guess the truth is out there. I'd like it to be here instead. But yes, I mean, there's no doubt that there's a great silence going on, that no matter what they say or what they do, and of course they're being rather cagey about it too. So you have to kind of, keep that in mind, that they're being very careful how they say things and what they say. And of course, that's probably because there are repercussions.
Do you believe there are bases on the moon?
Yes, I think so. I'm not sure if they're active now, but they have been in the past, judging by pictures that have later been airbrushed out of NASA photos. And, for instance, NASA had a series of high-resolution photographs on their site that showed some of this. And then the next time I went there, they were nothing but low resolutions. They'd taken off the high-resolution ones. So, but luckily, some people had managed to copy them off the site, and it was perfectly legal to do so. But by the same token, I think that there were bases on the moon in the past, and judging by all the transient lunar phenomena that has been going on, they could well be there now. I mean, we have so much in the way of that going on right now. You name it, they've seen over the last 500 years, and this is from a report commissioned by NASA itself. They have seen beacons, flashes, glows, tracks, lightning, volcanoes. There are no volcanoes on the moon, and all sorts of strange things. And even the crater Aristarchus has had blue glows, blue mists, blue flashes, blue beacons in it so often that astronomers have nicknamed it the blue gem. Now, that's not me calling it that. That's astronomers calling it that. And it's not the only crater that has this thing going on. Plato also does as well. So, yeah, I think there's evidence that there might be bases on the moon. Something weird is going on up there, or NASA wouldn't have commissioned that report.
Well, John brings up a good question on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio. He says, if we were lying about the moon realities, why hasn't China, Russia, or any other country called us on our lies? It would be huge news if they did.
If we were lying about the moon as far as landing on the moon, and of course that's the conspiracy theory that the moon landing was a hoax, which I totally disagree with, I would absolutely agree with them. We had ham radio operators at the time that were tracking the transmissions from the moon, of course, because they wanted to hear everything. And if you triangulated those transmission sources, they all originated on the surface of the moon, number one. Number two, the Soviet Union was in a space race with the United States. They had a technology comparable to ours. If it had been a hoax, they would have known it. They didn't say anything, so therefore it probably wasn't a hoax. Red China, as it was called at the time, same thing. If they could have disproven it, they would have. It would have embarrassed the United States hugely. We would have lost our international reputation. But they didn't. And believe me, they would have wanted to. The fact that they didn't proves to me that it wasn't a hoax. Now, as far as being on the moon and the others saying this sort of thing, they weren't on the moon. They didn't see the UFOs resting on the ridge. They weren't privy to encoded messages from the moon or from the space shuttle. So that's probably why they haven't said anything about it.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe, then, that there are currently humans on the moon?
I'm not sure. I think humans are on the moon, but somebody's on the moon, perhaps. And there seems to be reasonable evidence for that as well. Again, something's causing all that transient lunar phenomena. What is it? You can't have lightning on the moon. There's no atmosphere, nothing to produce it. What are causing these tracks, these beacons, these flashes, these blue glows, these mists, these fogs, smoke? The moon is airless. Just the little bit of gas is outgassed from the lunar emissions actually added to the moon's atmosphere because it had none to begin with. That's how little air or anything there was on the moon, which is basically zero. So where is this stuff coming from? It's supposed that the core of the moon is not active. So there are no volcanoes, active or otherwise, that we know of on the moon. So what are causing these phenomena? Now, you could say, well, yeah, meteors are causing the streaks. No, there's no atmosphere. The meteors wouldn't burn. There would be no streak at all. You'd see a flash when it hit the moon, but you wouldn't see a streak. So, and some of these phenomena go on for months and have been observed for 5 centuries by different astronomers at different times. How do we account for this? Except
and that's $1 million question. But then you have the other side of the ledger. Well, if we have a secret space program and we've been going along those lines, going to Mars and going to Venus and other places out there looking to promote freedom, then we all of a sudden have to think, Well, why wouldn't there be humans on the moon already?
Good point, except that, again, you would have Russia and China being aware of it, because with our current rocketry capabilities, you can certainly track an object of that size and also blasting its way there pretty easily. So unless we have some very advanced form of propulsion system, but even then, astronomers could probably track it. We track asteroids that have no propulsion at all, some no bigger than a basketball. So we are capable of tracking this stuff. So if we do have a Space Force, they must have some kind of cloaking capability.
Where do you think we hide all that technology?
Area 51. I guess that's why 250,000 people are storming it. It's not just Area 51. And it may very well have been moved from there to other locations. And but I think, we have huge black project funds. Nobody seems to know where it's going. It's almost as if the money's just going into a black hole or draining. And we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars over decades easily. And it isn't all just going into a stealth bomber, that's for sure. So where is it going and what's it accomplishing? And that's a big question, too. So could we have a very advanced space program? Sure. And if we are zipping around the solar system, we should be capable of conquering the entire planet. So why wouldn't the United States be using it militarily here on Earth if we have that capability? A lot of questions again, and not very valid answers sometimes, I think.
Well, I mean, that's the big question, is if we do have those capabilities, like people believe the TR-3B is man-made and is a hypersonic craft that can travel to the moon in a couple of hours. I mean, that is what a lot of secret space program believers believe. We've had a couple of them on this show, and Olda Phillips and Michael Schratt, to name a couple. And I think both have very credible names.
Yeah, there's a clear case of, it's a photograph, a satellite photograph that shows a streak from the United States all the way across practically into Russia, and it only took a couple of hours to get there. So are we experimenting with hypersonic vehicles? Sure we are. And do we have them? I'm betting we do. However, are they capable of space flight to other worlds? That's another question. And if they are, then they're using some kind of propulsion, and it's not a ramjet or a scramjet or anything like that. It has to be something else entirely.
Let's get to a question from Gail in the SOR Space Travelers Club. She is asking, could you please tell us what happened to the instruction manual that got us to the moon? We are starting over like we've never been there before.
And that is a strange thing, too. In fact, NASA's capsule that they're using to go to the moon really isn't anything but a modified capsule, a slightly larger Apollo 11 capsule. I find that incredible. I find that incredible that we are actually starting from ground zero and coming up with the same, basically, rocketry and capsules and things. Our technology has gone way beyond that. And, even SpaceX is doing better than that. So it's a good question, and I'd like to know the answer. Why is NASA trotting out the old methods all over again and doing it from scratch all over again? Why not build on what already existed? But they don't seem to be.
Question coming from John on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio. China has rovers on the moon. Why do you think they haven't been warned off?
China had a rover on the moon, and it only lasted for a short time, and then it stopped functioning. We've had a rover on the moon as well, so has Russia. I don't think rovers are a problem. I think it's more like when we actually physically go there in person. We never had a problem with being warned off the moon, as far as I can tell, until we landed humans on the moon. And then the problems began to develop, and we stopped going. But up until then, satellites and stuff in orbit, I don't think they care. But I think when we actually land on the moon, that's a totally different story.
We only got about 5.5 minutes left with you tonight. Rob Shelsky, our guest on Spaced Out Radio. Rob, when you take a look at space, and it's supposed to be the final frontier, how much do we really know what's going on up there, in your opinion?
We don't nearly enough. We have no idea what's going on. I was thinking about that just today. We're traveling through space to the moon, and we don't even know what space really is. Is it zero-point vacuum energy? Is it, Einstein says it's space-time, that it can be warped, gravitational waves, and we have evidence those do exist, absolutely. So we're traveling through a medium that we're not at all sure of what it really is. It's almost like setting sail on a ship on the ocean, not being sure what the ocean was made of, whether it was water or oil. It's that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, how far do you think then that we have actually gone out there? If you believe that we have some sort of program or craft that can travel way far into distances that may not have been released to the public yet, where do you think we've gone?
Well, I think we certainly have the capability. I mean, we had the capability in the 1950s of building the Orion rocket, which could have gotten us to Mars in a few weeks. Of course, it required blowing up nuclear bombs in a steady progression and kind of would have polluted our atmosphere. But we had that capability back then, around 1957. But so I can't believe that we haven't gone beyond that in all the decades that have followed. So, yeah, I think there could very well be a craft capable of going into deep space. And if it is, it's top secret. And how far has it gone? At least around our solar system. Has it gone to other star systems? Possibly. But, boy, that's a big leap because, you know, it's one thing to travel at sub-light speeds. It's another technology entirely to go faster than the speed of light.
So what's your thoughts then on these so-called super soldiers like Randy Kramer or the late Max Spears or, heaven forbid, Corey Goode, who talk about how they spent time on Mars?
Right, and also so did Andrew Basiago, I can never pronounce his last name. You do it much better than I do. Again, I find it intriguing. I'm not sure if they're telling the truth or not. I hate to think of anyone lying, but I would like to see some actual physical evidence to corroborate their stories. And so far I haven't.
Would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. The smoking gun sort of thing. I mean, anyone can say anything. Let's be honest here, you know. And one would assume that they're not doing it, but there have been so many hoaxes, so many photoshopped pictures and things like that I'm getting very cynical about it. And I want some evidence. What was it Ronald Reagan used to say? Trust but verify. I can choose to believe they're telling the truth, but I would also like evidence that they're telling the truth.
Where do we find that truth? Who do you think is holding on to it? Is it NASA? Is it a government agency, an alphabet group?
NASA's a puppet. It's working for the government. It's when you're cutting off a commander of a shuttle in mid-sentence, they've been ordered to do so. Pictures clearly show they've been airbrushed. They've been ordered to do so. Someone's hiding something, and I think it's a branch of the government or a deep interior part of the government that even the president may not be privy to. You know, might be on a need-to-know basis, and as they say, presidents don't necessarily need to know. They are a force unto themselves, I think. And so, yeah, I think the answers are out there. I just think getting them is going to be like pulling hen's teeth. It has been so far.
All right. Question about the moon from Anthony in Spain on Twitter. He is asking, we only got about a minute and a half. He's asking, do you believe that some of these structures on the moon are made of glass?
I think they were made of a glass-like material. There's the evidence that there was a dome on the moon, and there's the so-called crystalline structure. And so, yes, I think that but I don't think it's standard glass. Maybe they're using Gorilla Glass like we use for phones, but whatever it is, it's probably much more highly tempered. And it would have to be radiation-proof, too, because otherwise you'd have horrible radiation pouring through the glass and killing whatever's inside.
I think it's duct tape. When in doubt, duct tape, my friend. Hey, Rob, I want to say thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. What an absolute privilege it has been to talk to you for the last 2.5 hours. Do me a favor, give a shout-out to your books and where our audience can buy them.
Sure. The easiest way to find them is just go to Amazon. You can find them in print or in Kindle format. You can go to Smashwords and get any other format that you want. You can go through Permuted Press or Simon & Schuster. But I would just go to Amazon and type in my last name, Shelsky, and they'll all come up for you.
Awesome. Awesome. You've been a pretty busy guy lately. You've been staying up late for all us West Coasters, doing a bunch of interviews recently, and to be able to have you speak in front of our audience, I'd like to add you one time to our SOR roundtable on a Friday night. That would be a lot of fun because I think you'd bring a lot of real cool stuff to it. But I just want to say, Rob Shelsky, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. What an absolute pleasure.
It has been for me too, sir. I really enjoyed it, and I found it fun, even the debate.
Absolutely, absolutely. We promise that we will do this again. I'm already getting people asking, when can he come back on again? We'll try and make it happen very soon. Try and make it happen. Rob Shelsky's website is robshelsky.blogspot.com. Coming up after the break, we have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Dave. Stay tuned.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio listeners, it's Dave Scott. I want you to check out a great documentary I'm involved in called Beyond the Spectrum, Mosson's UFO Files. Directed by Darcy Weir, the film follows Jaime Mosson's journey for mainstream journalistic truth in ufology in Mexico. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon Prime. If you're a member, watch it free. It's worth the watch. Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch. Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today. Coming up this September 21st and 22nd, all UFO eyes will be focused on Toronto for the 4th Annual Alien Cosmic Expo. Come listen to some of the biggest names and experiencers in ufology. Travis Walton, Paul Hellyer, Richard Dolan, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Randy Kramer, and Spaced Out Radio's own Dave Scott. Tickets are on sale now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, hanging out with all of you. Thank you so much for tuning us in. Big thanks to Rob Shelsky for coming in the last 2.5 hours to break down everything from time travel to the Mandela effect, UFOs, space, the moon. It was fantastic. We're going to get him back on very, very soon. Want to give a quick reminder that you can find all of our archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where soon we'll have a plethora of features for you. The Gavinator's working on those, but you can catch up on the SOR Newswire put together by our intrepid reporter/news director, Captain Shirk. Want to give a big shout out to Gene in D.C. Hi, Gene in D.C. Do us a favor. Give us a call sometime. Thank you for listening. Let's get to the news of the night. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show where it gets weird, it gets wacky. But some of the stories are really cool and informative as well. That's because Captain Shirk always puts her best out for all of us to share to you. Let's start off in Ohio. An Ohio-based circus said a trailer thief was likely surprised to find a pilfered container that was with performance items, including a bed of nails, a coffin, and an electric chair. The Cincinnati Circus Company said the black Homesteader Challenger trailer was stolen from the company's private lot on Saturday. Officials said it was filled with about $10,000 worth of items, including a bed of nails. Ringmaster Dave Williker posted a photo on Facebook showing a truck driving off with the trailer. The circus says it's been borrowing equipment from other circus companies to make scheduled performances, but they have to cut back on shows now due to this. They're hoping the thief will return the trailer. Yes, nail bed in hand as well. I can't find that comfortable, honestly. Who does that? Yeah. Aerialist Nikki McLaughlin says, hopefully you would leave it somewhere and give an anonymous call telling us where it could be found. You impacted a small business and everyone that works for it in a very harmful way. I'd like you to know that. Oh, she is giving that thief a piece of her mind. Yeah. Let's just get the trailer back. How about that? What are you going to do with a coffin, an electric chair, and a bed of nails? If you're a thief, okay, you probably want the trailer. But what are you going to do with the items? What were you hoping for? A lion in there? Maybe an elephant? I don't know. I could get real politically incorrect fast with those ones. But I'm not going to. Just bring the trailer back. Here's a weird one in Australia. A 28-year-old suspected drug carrier has been arrested after crashing his van packed with about, let's say, how do we put this? About $140 million worth. $140 million? That seems like a lot. Maybe. Yeah, about $140 million worth of methamphetamine into a patrol car parked outside a police station in Sydney. The driver hit the police car at speed, crushing its bonnet, before racing off. Police caught him an hour later in Eastwood, a suburb of the city's north. Search of the van uncovered 273 kilograms of meth. Now, no one was injured in the crash, but the police car had sustained significant damage, so it's off to the car hospital. Crystal meth, which is known locally as ice down under, has been described as the most common and damaging illegal drug on the continent. The price of crystal meth in Australia is among the highest in the world, driving the country's organized crime gangs to trade increasingly in the drug. The man, who has not been named, faced court yesterday charged with drug supply and negligent driving offenses. Yeah, that's a bad way to go down. How do you crash into a parked police car? What do you have to be on? You're carrying 273 kilograms of meth at $140 million you just gave to the police. Somehow, I think jail for this guy is a little bit safer than being back on the street right now. Yeah, he's in a lot of trouble, either with the law or the bosses. They're not going to be happy. Oh, no. All right, Frank Zapata, a former jet ski champion, was hoping to cross from northern France to southern England in just 20 minutes on one of those jet-powered flyboards. Looking to become the first person on a jet-powered flyboard to cross the English Channel. But the 40-year-old fell into the water halfway across as he tried to land on a boat to refuel. He took off from Calais on Thursday morning, headed for St. Margaret's Bay in Dover. Now, Mr. Zapata was not injured when he fell. Later announced he was planning a second bid to fly across the channel next week. Called it a huge disappointment that he must have missed the platform by just a few centimeters. Says, we practiced this maneuver dozens of times in heavier seas. But the inventor insisted his journey has far been from a failure. Going on to say, we proved to ourselves that our plan is okay. The problem now is refueling. So we just have to focus on refueling and do it again next week. Yeah, you don't want to be carrying fuel. Can you imagine this dude carrying a couple of jerry cans with him? Oh, hold on here. You got to fill up here. You know, got to fill. I don't know. I just find that funny. Yeah. Apparently, the attempt took place exactly 110 years since Louis Blériot made the first power flight across the channel in 1909. Yeah. Trying to keep a speed of 87 miles an hour. Because, you know, you can't go 88 miles an hour. We all know what happens then. While traveling 15 to 20 meters or 50 to 65 feet above the water, crowds gathered at the beach to watch the attempt. Shortly after setting off, Mr. Zapata disappeared from view as a helicopter followed closely behind him. But just minutes later, it was announced that he had failed. We'll see if he could do it next week. Don't hit that 88 miles an hour, Frankie. Do not hit it. You're going back in time if you do. Now, here is something really cool. A college student made the discovery of a lifetime on a paleontology dig when he unearthed a partial Triceratops skull. Now, the fifth-year biology student from the University of California, Merced, Harrison Duran, uncovered the 65-million-year-old skull of the Badlands of North Dakota. He went on to say, I cannot quite express my excitement in that moment when we uncovered the skull. I've been obsessed with dinosaurs since I was a kid, so this is a pretty big deal. Now, North Dakota is part of the Hell Creek Formation, and this area is a treasure trove for finding fossils. The Rockbed Formation spans 4 states, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wyoming, because that's where the big tree is for Team Stump. Fossils date back to the Cretaceous period, 65 million to 70 million years ago, and were discovered in the 20th century in 1902 by paleontologist Barnum Brown. Knowing the history of this area, Duran set out on a 2-week dig accompanied by a couple of friends and an experienced excavator. The two met previously at a conference and became fast friends, bonded over dinosaurs. Yeah. So Michael Shelland says, I've been going out to the Badlands for years off and on, but to this particular site, it was the first time, and we found a Triceratops skull. That is pretty cool. Pretty cool for this kid. That's a good memory. Good hard work there. This video streak freaks me right out. I didn't even want to run this story, okay? But this is just gross. I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe it's ghostly. Maybe it's a zombie chicken. I don't know. So, this person's getting ready to cook up some dinner. He's got some raw chicken sitting on the plate, where all of a sudden, this piece of raw chicken decides to come back to life on the restaurant table and starts flipping and flopping, you know, right off the table. So the footage shows of this video a plate of raw meat alongside other food on the restaurant table, but then shows this piece of chicken begin to twitch. After hoisting itself upwards, the carcass yanks itself off the diner's plate as a terrified onlooker can be heard screaming. The chicken then lands on the floor as the woman continues screaming. The footage was posted to Facebook by Ree Phillips 2 weeks ago. It has been seen more than 4 million times. It's unclear whether it was taken, but chopsticks on a plate would suggest it was either a Japanese, Chinese, or Korean restaurant. People who posted comments suggested the movement was caused by nerve endings that have not died yet. Oh, honestly, it's a gross video. I don't know if it's haunted. Maybe a ghost grabbed a hold of it and started doing like the chicken dance. My God, I hate that song. Oh, now I shouldn't have said that. Now all of us are going to be doing that, and you're all going to hate me now. Oh, darn it, Dave. Why do that? I think I just ruined the entire evening, the entire show with that right there. Okay, I'm getting away from this. That video just freaks me out. Freaks me right out. Pair of Minnesota boys landed a monster 73-inch sturgeon using nothing but an unusual fishing tool, a lasso. Owen Sanderson, age 14, and his 12-year-old friend Matt Hoekstra were fishing next to the 56th Street Bridge in Edina when they spotted the gigantic fish. One of the boys' father filmed it as they pulled out the unusual catch. Matt gave me the rope with a slip knot, and I just put it under its tail and yanked it. I pulled on the rope, and it worked, and then he scratched my chest with his tail as he tried to get away. Ozzy Rob's like, no chicken dance, Dave. No chicken dance. Thanks for reminding me. I had it gone there, Ozzy Rob. had it gone. Anyways, the boys did return the fish to the creek after measuring it. Good catch and release. But that's a bad way to land a sturgeon. Never want to land it by a tail. Biggest one I've caught, about 75 pounds. Gave it a kiss, then threw it back in the Fraser. See, when you go fishing for sturgeon in the Fraser River, and it's your first sturgeon that you ever catch, rule of thumb is you got to kiss it before we went. Yeah, I've kissed a sturgeon. I've kissed a 75-year-old fish. And I liked it. Oh, Katy Perry. Much better than the chicken dance. Finally, so in the United Kingdom, in Britain specifically, there's been a seagull rampage going on after a student was terrorized in his home by a bird that pecked through the netting to get inside. Matt Cotton's 21 years old. He spent 5 minutes trying to force the psycho seagull out of his home after finding it on his brother's bed. The incident took place just 4 miles from where another seagull made off with Becca Hill's pet chihuahua Gizmo on Sunday. And it comes after more of the birds dive-bombed sunbathers in Lyme Regis, Dorset, forcing them to flee in terror. Mr. Cotton said he found the bird in his brother Chris's room while going to get a sleeping bag, prompting the dramatic confrontation. Wonder if there was any red cards given out. Yeah, he said, the bird was squawking and making so much noise, I went on for about 5 minutes and I was trying to get him away, but he was pecking and clawing at my arms until I got him out and closed the window. Yeah. I don't know what's with these silly seagulls. Yeah. In the meantime, little Gizmo, it's like a little chihuahua, okay, still isn't back. His owner, Ms. Hill, who is pregnant, by the way, so is overly emotional, is asking for people to listen for his yelps. Somehow I don't think your doggie's alive, hon. Somehow I don't think the doggie is alive. Let's get to the thought of the day. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Twitter and Facebook pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. Have you ever had a Mandela effect happen? If so, what was it? Mr. Skeptic on Twitter, I am positive I died in 1998, but here I am, alive. Mandela effect. All right, let's go to Bigfoot on Twitter. My wife and I are both convinced Rick Ocasek from the Cars died like 5 years ago. Remember when he married Paulina Poroskova, how heartbroken all 80s men were back then? Joe, back in the early 90s, while eating at a Jiffy peanut butter sandwich, my TV show Sex and the City was interrupted by live coverage of the Nelson Mandela funeral eulogy. I remember choking back the tears as they compared him to then canonized Saint Mother Teresa. I think there was some sarcasm there. Spook Cat, have you asked this question before? Rackmusin, my biggest one is Jiffy or Jif peanut butter. Which one? I distinctly remember Jiffy. Philly Sports Guy, it made me happy for humanity when Nelson Mandela was released from prison. Puxley, in the UK, good morning. Not a personal one, but this one still has me confused. I swear she had them when I watched the first time around. Now, what are you talking about here? Oh, braces. I don't get that. That's what I get for reading these cold. Oscar, I remember Jane Goodall dying in the late 80s or early 90s. Cassandra, in early January, I heard on the news that Smokey Robinson died. A few months later, I went to look up the date and found he's alive. David, Without viewing any of the comments, I'm going to take my shot. Berenstein Bears. I remember it no other way. Neither does my mom, who is 70 and a retired reading/English teacher. I showed her proof of this. It was Stain, not Steen, and she flipped. All right, let's go over to Facebook. Caden. I had one not so long ago. I grew up all my life knowing that my aunt was Hawaiian and she met my uncle while she was stationed there. When they came in to visit this time, I was asking her questions about Hawaii and her culture, and she informed me that she was born and raised in Texas and was actually Mexican. I remember having conversations with my family about them meeting in Hawaii and her being from there. Threw me for quite a loop. That is weird. That is totally weird. Moving on here. Dan, nothing personally, but recently, Rip Torn passed away. I thought for sure I'd heard about it 5 or 6 years ago. Catherine, when it happened, it was 1984. I don't know what it was about that year, but that was the first time I noticed things were different. Then, the most recently, the world seemed to shift around 2012 and set us on a different path. Donna, I guess I haven't, because I don't know what that is. Is it a beer? No, definitely not a beer. The other Joe. I remember about 15 years ago when Kirk Douglas died, they had a great big remembrance during the Academy Awards. Seems the old dude is still alive. He's like 100. Karen. I sew like a pro, full speed, no pins. My favorite machine, the foot pedal broke. I took it in to get fixed. My mom went with. The tech guy said he no longer serviced German machines. Told him to go look for a German parts website. Frustrated, I put the machine in storage for half a year, took it back out. The foot pedal was fine, but the hand wheel on the far right side was broken. I'd seen on this thing for decades. Like the back of my hand, I knew this machine. But it changed. 4 people were witnesses. Weird. All right, moving on, because we only got time for a couple more. Jade, I bought a new shampoo and conditioner only to see that there were new ones already in the cupboard. The same thing with the same color of nail polish. Does that count? I don't know. Lana, Sex in the City, now Sex and the City. Interview with the Vampire, now Interview with the Vampire. Star Wars, Forrest Gump, Jaws lines. I can go on. Tim, piece of equipment we use for beer festivals called a jockey box. Changed colors. Myself and 3 others remember it being blue. It's not black. Penman gets the final one. I have a number of Mandela effect experiences. The big one was when Nelson Mandela died in prison. It was all over the news for weeks. Then I later found out he was alive. I knew that I was not crazy, and it was impossible that Mandela died and came back to life. We're going to leave it right there. Thank you so much for participating in the Thought of the Dave today. Always a pleasure. We'll do it again tomorrow on our Facebook and Twitter pages. And, of course, big thank you to Captain Shirk for putting together our SOR Newswire for tonight. Great selection of news. Everything can be found at spacedoutradio.com. Thank you also again to Rob Shelsky for coming on in, talking about the Mandela effect, talking about time travel, UFOs, secret space program. We filled in a lot. We're going to get him back on real soon. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, in our chat rooms on Spreaker, Rev Radio, and the SOR Space Travelers Club on Facebook. Can't forget you snarkers on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, because together, my friends, say it with me, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night, everybody. Talk soon.